Okay. Hi, everybody. So we're going to continue our fun with our characters and strings lecture. We have a few methods to go through, but before we do that, we're going to build a little class here. So, two things. We're going to call our class Fun with Strings 2, and we're going to import the scanner class, which will allow us to get user input through the console. So in our Fun with Strings class, we're going to give every Fun with Strings 2 object its own separate scanner object that we can use to get user input. In the main method, we're going to create the main loop for everything that gathers user input. So we're going to first create the new FWS2 object. Okay. So fun with strings 2, we'll call it FWS2 equals new fun with strings 2. Okay, so now we'll have a fun with strings object to work with. And when we create it, because we've already said here scan is going to be a new scanner, it'll already have the scanner object ready to use. So next thing, we're going to create an infinite loop for getting user input. Okay, so what we're going to do here, very simple thing, we're going to introduce a little bit of conditional statements here. So hopefully it's simple enough that you can all understand it, but we'll lecture on this next week. So we're going to say while false. So I'm going to ask you something. Is false ever going to be true? This is a literal boolean. It says false. If you said no, false is never going to be true. Yeah, that's right. So as long as we want to actually do it true, while true, this will always repeat. True will always be true. So as long as true is true, and it always will be, this loop block is going to repeat. Okay, so in that loop block, we're going to start by getting user input. Right, we're going to say string s equals fws2 dot scan dot next line. We're going to read the whole line of text that somebody threw in there. Okay, and we'll do two things. We'll say if s dot equals exit. Okay, if that is true, then system dot exit, and we'll send along status 0. So I'll do a comment here. If user enters exit command, then stop application, right? That's how we get out of this infinite loop, is somebody actually types in the word exit. Else, right, otherwise, system.out.println, you entered the string, right, plus what? So here we're going to do a concatenation. We're going to say you entered the string, right? And then we're going to do a double quotes character because it's inside single quotes. It's not going to interfere and Java's not going to think it's a string. Then the string that somebody entered, then this. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. This looks good. Oh yeah, we got to do the console first. Hold on. I should have done that. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to say this. System.out.println, please enter your input. Okay, so we're going to say give user a prompt, right? Say, hey, enter something. Please enter your input. Well, if I entered hi there, and say I entered the string hi there, that's great. If my input is exit, boom, then I'm done. And you can see here the program's been terminated. Okay, so we can use this framework. We're going to do some testing with some of the string methods we'll have in just a moment. So very simple thing here. And if you're not following along quickly in Eclipse on this, that's okay. I'll post it to Blackboard afterwards. You can play around with it a little bit over the weekend. Okay, so moving through, we did char at, we did length. Now we're going to do index of. So index of, what it does, requests the index of a first occurrence of a character or string within a string. Okay, so for example, if I have some long slug of text and, hold on, are you guys still seeing this? Yeah, okay, good. If I have some long slug of text that I'm reading through, I can see where another string occurs in it. For example, if I'm looking for the word the in a long stretch of text, then index of the will return the first index where that word the appears. So there's two possibilities. You can call it with a char or you can call it with a string. And if you want to, you can start at a specific index within the string as well. The index of method returns an int, so it either returns the index where the text was found. If it finds it there, it'll tell you where to start, or -1 if it wasn't found. And the reason why you use -1, it's a nice number that can't be a valid index. It's simple, it's easy to remember. Quite often when you have methods that search through arrays looking for something, if they don't find it, they'll return -1, because -1 is a simple, easy to remember, never valid array index value. Okay, so some examples down here. If we have our string x that says hello, capital H, then the method call s.index of capital H would return 0. We're sending along a char there. It says, tell me the index where I first find a capital H. Well, there it is. It's at index 0. Method call s.index of LO, ELLO, that would return 1, right? The string ELLO, all lowercase, it occurs in S and it begins at index 1. Finally, method call s.index of capital HI would return -1, because although the capital H exists, there's no I in hello, thus there's no HI in hello. So it scans through the string, doesn't find it, and returns a no match value of -1. Okay, and we can do this in our own strings. Okay, so we'll go back to Eclipse here. So we enter something, we can pass it along. Okay, we're going to do an else block here. And we're going to go out to some various methods here. So we're going to look up index of. Okay, so we're going to find match. Okay, we're going to send along a string s. So in our find match, what we're going to do is we're going to look and see, I don't know, let's see where the string has an XYZ. And I guess we can return, we'll just do that. So we'll do int index equals s dot index of XYZ. Okay, so looking for a match with the XYZ string in S. Okay, we can say if S is greater than, we'll say if S equals -1, system.out.println no match. String does not contain XYZ. Okay, else, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to point out the index of value, right? We can say else, where's my index of? System.out.println match found at s dot index of, what are we looking for here? We'll just print out index, I guess. At index plus index. Okay. What do we got here? Oh, sorry, if index equals -1. Okay, this double equals sign here is a test for equality. Okay, so I can write that down. Else, if index equals -1, print the match data. I guess we have an extra parenthesis there. Okay, so I can enter in a string that has XYZ, and if it does, you know, we'll call this, well, we'll call this, what are we doing? FWS2 dot find match. Okay, great. So let's run it. Please enter your input. Well, let's do ABC XYZ. Okay, so the string XYZ, it exists there, and it starts at index 3, right? The A is 0, the B is 1, C is 2, X is 3. So if we enter that, hooray, match found at index 3. Great. You can put in something else. Enter your input, I don't know, 1, 2, we'll do it just as index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, XYZ. And it clearly starts at index 8, right? Here we go through the index numbers, then XYZ starts at 8. Okay, good. Match found at index 8. If I do lowercase, right, it's not going to be found. 1, 2, 3, XYZ, boom. Does no match, doesn't contain it, right? Or if I do 1, 2, 3, XY, and then put something in the middle, 4, 5, Z, same thing, I don't have the sequence XYZ. The sequence is interrupted. Okay, so that's what index does. If you're looking for an exact match of some text within a string, it'll return the index of where you find it. Questions about that? Any questions? Any pop-ups? We got some chat going? Nothing? We're all good? It's Friday. Everybody's daydreaming about Susie or Chad. Okay. That's fine. Hello. Yeah, I'm shushing. Okay, well, great. Well, the next one, that's our index of method. Next one is substring. So substring, as you might guess, returns an indexed portion of a string, a smaller part of a string, or a substring. Now, when we call it, we have to send along arguments. We send along 2 ints, and they represent first the index that starts the substring, and second, the first index that isn't included in the substring. And this is a really weird way to do it. Okay, it's actually kind of, it's a strange way to do it. If you look at it from an assembly language perspective, it makes sense because then you know exactly where it stops and you don't have to put in an extra step to convert the numbers. But when we look at this as humans, it doesn't make much sense, right? So I'll give an example here in Paint. Okay, so if we have our string, I don't know, UIC IDS 201, and I call, let's do that string S equals, all that, okay? And if I say S dot substring, what am I going to call here? I'll call it 4, 7, okay? This 4, 7, 4 points here to the I, okay? And 7 points here to the space, right? So UIC is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Capital I there, that is index 4. And I continue until I reach index 7, then I stop. So I only consider the stuff before index 7. Now, this is kind of a weird way to do it. People often forget, you know, they'll say, oh, is 7 the thing I include, or what, the last one I include, or the first one I don't include? Yeah, people have some trouble with that. So an easy way to think about it, length of the substring is 7 minus 4 equals 3, okay? So that's an easy way to do it. You won't go wrong. Okay, so again, whoop. So over here, first index to include, and we'll say here, first index that is not included. Okay, a little bit strange, but yeah, there's some machine level reasons why they do it that way. But for us, it's just mostly confusing. Okay, so if we do our substring method, okay, here's a thing. We can put this in our code. So we'll do a find match, okay, and we can call another method from that. We can say void, let's do another thing, a substring, void show middle text. Okay, so we're going to grab the middle couple of 2 characters from whatever our string is. And we'll accept the string S. Okay, so we will begin. So we'll say int index, we'll say int start equals what? S dot length, right, divided by 2. So for example, if we have a 4-character string, where would we want the index to be? Well, the index would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we should actually subtract 1. Okay, that's where our start should be. If we have a 5-character string, then the middle index would be 2. So this is an interesting thing. Okay, but we're going to go with s index length minus 2 divided by 1, and we'll do the ending character as start plus 2. Okay, so the difference between start plus 2 and start is going to be 2. We're going to show the middle 2 characters. Okay, so we're going to show the middle 2 characters. Let's call our method that. Very descriptive. Okay, so for this we can call fws2.show middle 2 characters. We'll send along s. Okay, and in our method here, we'll say if start is greater than or equal to 0, so it's valid, and that's what that is, and end is less than s dot length. Okay, so here we're going to say if the indexes are valid for our string s, because we don't want to have a negative starting index, that'll crash our program, and we don't want to have the end go afterwards. For example, if we sent in a string of length 1, right, there's no way that the end string could be a valid index. Right? So the initial start would be 0, the ending index would be 2, but 2 isn't a valid index for a single character string. So if that's true, then system.out.println, what are we going to do? We're going to do s dot, typo there. Let's say the middle 2 characters are s dot substring, and our numbers are start and end. Move that down a bit so I can see what's going on here. Okay. So that's it. Else, right? If I know if that's not working right, then I know that I have some bad indexes. Otherwise, the string is too short. So we can say else system.out.println the string does not have a middle 2 characters. Okay, so let's try that. Let's make sure it doesn't crash and burn on us. Please enter your input. Okay, IDS 201, right? Clearly, the middle 2 characters should be S2. Let's see how that goes. Yay, right? Doesn't contain an XYZ. We know that. Middle 2 characters are S2. Great. Okay, please enter your input. Let's try a single character one. We'll try just the number 1. Boom, no match, and it does not have a middle 2 characters. Please enter your input. Okay, let's do 1, 2. 2 characters, so the middle 2 characters are 1, 2. Ah, something doesn't like that. String does not have a middle 2 characters. Let's see how this goes. What did I miss? Okay, is start at least 0? Well, if s length is 2, 2 divided by 2 is going to be 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. Start plus 2. Oh, I got to do less than or equal to, right? Because I'm doing the substring, right? So that's fine. Let's make sure we get this correct. Enter your input, 1, 2, boom. Middle 2 characters are 1, 2. So we're good. Okay, we can try it again with the string 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta-da, middle 2 characters are 2, 3. We're good. It works. We're happy. Okay. So that's our substring method. Like I said, we have examples here. Let's go through these. Substring, when we call the method, it returns a string. So if our string is hello, we call the substring 0, 3. It starts at index 0 and returns 3 minus 0 equals 3 characters. So capital H, then EL. If we call the substring 2, 4, starts at index 2, which is a lowercase l, returns 4 minus 2 equals 2 characters. So it returns that double L. Finally, if we call substring 0, 0, we return a 0-length string. Well, a 0-length string, as long as it's valid, doesn't really matter where you get it from, it's going to be 0. Now, if we try to call a substring with a negative starting index, of course, that's going to crash. It's going to try reading the string from there, but it's not valid, and so you'll get some kind of error. Okay, that's substring. Questions on substring? Everybody's happy? We're good? Makes lots of sense? No difficulties? Okay, moving on. Last one starts with, ends with. Okay, this is a very simple one. Returns a string. Okay, so it asks, oh, sorry, I'm reading from the wrong thing. It returns a boolean variable. Boolean variable is either true or false. So with starts with, we check if the string starts with whatever string we send along as an argument, and ends with, of course, checks if the string ends with whatever string we sent along as an argument. So if I again have the string s equals hello, if I call s dot starts with capital H lowercase e, that's going to return the Boolean true, right? Because it does in fact start with he. On the other hand, the call s dot ends with capital H lowercase e, well, hello clearly ends with an lo, so that method call would return false. Okay. Now, concatenation, we've done concatenation in numerous examples to this point. Normally the plus symbol indicates addition, but for strings it indicates concatenation. Concatenation is a fancy word for basically stringing stuff together. So with concatenation, we mean that the first string gets the second string attached to the end of it. So if we're doing regular math with regular numbers, we have 6 plus 6, that's going to equal 12. But we have string 6 plus string 6, we concatenate them together when we use addition, and that gives us the number, or the string 6, 6. Now, concatenation happens if either side of the addition is a string. For example, string 5 plus 5 or 5 plus string 5, either way you add them together, your result will be string 5, 5. And the plus operator still follows the order of operations. In a way, it's very much like precision, except string is considered a superior number type. So if either side, if you're using an integer type and a floating point type, for example, if there's a mixed operation like that, the result's going to be in the floating point type. Similarly, if you have some math with addition and one of the types is a string, then the result is going to be in the string type. So if we have 3 plus 4 times 5, that's going to be 23, right? Because 4 times 5 is 20, 3 plus 20 is 23. But if you do string 3, you're still going to do the multiplication first. You'll get 4 plus 5 equals 20, but then you'll concatenate during the addition. You'll have string 3 plus the number 20 will concatenate to string 320. Okay. Now, there are methods and classes for converting strings to numbers. For example, if you want to convert an integer to a string to an integer, right? You have a long string that represents some integer like 1, 2, 3, 4. You can call integer.parseInt and send along the string, and it'll return whatever integer that string contains in it. And if the string doesn't contain a number, you'll get some kind of error. Likewise, for double, there's parse double, and you send along the string as the argument. The integer one is the only one that's different. All of the other ones use the standard name of the type. So there's a method for byte.parse byte, there's short.parse short, there's long.parse long. Int is the only one that has a different name, integer. Okay, but if you have a string and you want to quickly convert it to a number, you can use one of these. On the other hand, if you want to convert a number to a string, a quick and easy way to do that is just concatenation, right? So you say, if I have some double x that's 9.3, I want to create a string that holds that value. Well, you just concatenate the number with an empty string, and then s would contain string 9.3. Okay, so there's some pretty simple conversion methods between strings and numbers when they're appropriate. Okay, so that's kind of it for characters and strings. So we could ask some basic stuff. These are things you should know at this point. Number one, what's the difference between a character and a single character string? Well, simple stuff. A character is a primitive, thus it's really a number. You can do math with a number. You can do greater than, less than comparisons, things like that. With a single character string, you can't. A string is an object. But on the other hand, you have a bunch of objects you can do with that string. Like, for example, substring, starts with, ends with, char at, things like that that you can't do with a character. Okay, so character is a primitive. You can do math with it. A string is a number, or a string is not a number, but you get access to all the string methods. Next thing, char and short. They're both 16-bit primitives. How are they the same? Well, again, they're numbers and they're both 16 bits, so same size. How are they different? Short by default can hold negative numbers, right? It is a signed number. It can be positive or negative. Char is unsigned. It starts at 0 and goes to 2 to the 16th minus 1. So they encompass the same range of values, but they're different because a short can convert to a char, but not vice versa. Okay, you can typecast, for example. Some strange things will happen. Let's do this. Short s equals short. Let's do it in here. Do it inside my method, just as an example. So char c equals 1, short s equals c. It doesn't like that because, again, we have some problems. Can't convert from char to short, right? But of course, I can convert it. Now, if this were an int, there'd be no problem, okay? Because an int can encompass every value that a char can. But a char, you know, they both short and char, they're 16-bit numbers, so you can't directly convert between them because they don't encompass the same range of values. Anyway, we covered string creation, literals versus new objects, sorry. Literal strings are ones that we create from, you know, and we put a literal string in the code, like, for example, string s equals word, okay? That's, word is a literal string. Or we can create them using the new keyword. Now, we had a question the other day, actually a very good question the other day. Somebody asked, doesn't seem to be any advantage to using the new keyword to create a string. Why would you ever do that? Well, I did some looking around. The answer I gave the other day was essentially correct, but I got a little more detail on it. So the reason is, sometimes it can create problems if you have a bunch of processes that are all looking at the same point in memory. And if you have a bunch of references pointing to that same point in memory where the one copy of the string is located, yeah, it can cause your system to run a little slower. But the issue with that is it's somewhat system specific. So in some systems or in some cases where a system is running a particular way, you might observe it being a serious problem. In other cases, not. So it's really situational, but if you happen to know that that's something that goes on in your system, that might be something you would consider, is creating separate string objects. It's just like anything in databases. You often can create multiple replicas of the same thing in order to allow easier simultaneous access by many users, right? If every user in the world tries to access the same data center at the same time, you get a bit of a bottleneck there. So they make different copies of the data on different servers and on different data centers. Same idea. Okay, and the last thing are those well, actually 6 string methods that we went through. So the fifth, 5 slides, but the 5th slide had starts with and ends with. So if you understand all those, are comfortable with those, then you're probably good enough for right now with characters and strings. Okay. So I'm going to take a minute. Does anyone have any questions about any of this stuff we covered today? We did some good things today. And apparently I'm such an awesome instructor that no one has any questions. I've explained everything perfectly. Nothing?
I just have a quick question in regards to the lab.
Yeah, okay.
Did we have to change anything in the file that you provided for us that was called calculator frame, or that one just stays the same that
That
as
one,
you
as
provided?
I recall, that should stay the same.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Because, yeah, no problem. That's, a graphical user interface, and we haven't covered that. So I don't expect people to do anything with that.
So we just have to build the calculator interface.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Sure. Okay, well, if we have no questions about strings, there's one more thing I wanted to cover today. Nothing about strings? We're all happy? Okay. So people often ask, hey, professor, how can I get some extra practice on coding? Because I want to do stuff that's like puzzles, right? So if I want to do stuff that's puzzles, what would we do with that? Well, there's a fine little site out there called codingbat. And we are finally at the point in codingbat where we can make some use of this. Okay, so codingbat is your friend. They have things in Java, they have things in Python, but I'm interested in the Java stuff. So they have some interesting puzzles here. For example, you could try string one. These are simple ones, basic string problems with no loops. So let's see. Now, let's say this, extra end. Given a string, return a new string made of 3 copies of the last 2 characters of the original string. The string length will be at least 2. So you're receiving a string that has at least 2 characters, and you want to get the last 2 characters and then repeat it 3 times. Okay, let me, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you guys can see better. Okay, so this is our problem, right? Given a string, return a string. So we say, how do we do that? Well, we know a couple things. We can get the substring of the last 2 characters, right? So we can say string sub equals str dot substring. And what are the last 2 characters going to be? Well, they're going to be str dot length minus 2, right? That'll be 2 characters from the end. That'll be the next to last character. And then str dot length. So for example, if str has a length of 2, right? I know the first index is going to be 0. The first index I don't want to include would be 2, right? Or the length of the substring would be 2 minus 0 equals 2. So this will work. And then I just duplicate it 3 times. I say return, and I'm returning a triple string. So I just do sub plus sub plus sub, right? I've concatenated a triple copy of these last 2 characters. So once you think you have the solution to these, you can click the go button. And yay. And if you've done it well, you'll get the happy green check mark that says all correct, right? We could try another one. Let's go back to here. Anybody want to call one out? Anything looks interesting? Let's see. What do you think? Somebody pick one.
And twice.
What's that? Sorry, I didn't hear. N twice?
Yeah, I think I said that. I didn't know my mic was on.
Okay, I'll do n twice. It's fine. Given a string and an int n, return a string made of the first and last n characters from the string. The string length will be at least n. Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, if we do 2, we're getting the first 2 and the last 2. Chocolate, we're getting the first 3 and the last 3. Chocolate, we're getting the first one, last one. Okay. So again, this is a simple substring exercise, right? So we'll go string start equals str.substring 0 comma n, right? We're going to start at index 0 and we're going to return n minus 0 equals n characters. Likewise, from the end, string end equals str.substring, and we're going to do str.length minus n all the way to str.length. Okay, because the length of the string will be the first one that we don't want to include, right? If it's a 10-character string, then the last valid index is 10 minus 1 equals 9. So the length of the string is always going to be the first one that we don't include. And then to return the pair, we just concatenate them. So return start plus end. And if we go on that and I haven't messed anything up, let's see. Hooray, right? We get our happy green check mark. Everything's good. So these exercises in here in codingbat, they're fun. I mean, you don't need to go in there and do all of them by any stretch, but, you know, take a peek, go in there, check it out, get a little practice with some of these. Okay, but then that's all I've got for today. Then this is, if there are no questions, then this will conclude our meeting. Oh, here we got some chat stuff. Who's doing what? Make ABBA combo string. You want me to do one more? I don't know. I'll do combo string. Let's see. I don't know. It's right there. Okay. Given two strings A and B, return a string of the form short plus long plus short with the shorter string on the outside, longer string on the inside. Strings will not be the same length, but they will, but they may be empty. Okay. So this we'll have to use a little bit of comparison, right? So we'll have to say if A dot length is less than B dot length, okay, then we're going to return what? Which is shorter? A is going to be shorter. A plus B plus A. Bye. Else, kids, wife's leaving and kids are around. She's not leaving forever probably, but she's going out for the evening. Anyway, so that's what we do. So if A is the short one, right, we wrap A around B. Otherwise, we wrap B around A. And good. Yay, we get all correct. And I got 3 in a row, so I get a gold star. Okay, I'll try one more since we got a couple minutes. These don't take very long. Somebody else had one there. Make ABBA. Okay, let's check that. Make ABBA. I didn't see it on there. I'd find it. Oh, there it is. Okay, make ABBA. Wonderful. Given two strings A and B, return the result of putting them together in the order A, B, B, A. Oh yeah, so that's easy. So we get A and B, so we just return A plus B plus B plus A, right? That's it. Fun. Okay, so excuse me, you can practice this a little bit on your own time, maybe like take 2 or 3 while this string stuff is still fresh in your head. And if it looks like you have to do some comparisons, don't worry about it. We'll get to that next week. You can, you know, skip some of that. Okay, just skip over those particular ones. But that's all I got. Questions? Questions on any of this stuff? I'll post up a link for codingbat if people want to check that out. And then obviously the lecture capture will get posted at some point, and I'll post up this sample code we had a little fun with there. Okay. All right, well then that's all I got. Have a good weekend, everyone. See you Monday.